Originally born as the heir to a wealthy tycoon family, the boy Sira had to suffer poverty while wandering in the slums. When he was a child, he was always all alone in a shabby house, waiting for his mom to come home from work. Sira's mom had to struggle to make a living while taking care of her little son. That poor woman finally had to send her child to an orphanage. Since then, day after day, Sira looked forward to his mom coming to pick him up. Even though he waited and waited, he never saw his mom come back. He was also frequently teased by friends who called him a kid abandoned by his mother. One day, a teacher at the orphanage told him that a lady would take care of him instead of his mom. At this moment, he realized he was adopted. Sira didn't have a clue that the lady in front of him was none other than his own wealthy biological grandmother. The grandmother didn't dare to tell Sira the truth, only telling him to call her chairman. Time flew by in the blink of an eye, and the poor boy Sira from back then had become a handsome young man. He had a shining spirit and elegant style, and is currently the vice chairman of the UG group. Along with the years, his germaphobia also became more serious. On the way to work, he even had to wear protective gear. The employees felt like they were going into battle every time they faced his inspection. Although the dance moves of the UG employees were very uniform, Sira was still not satisfied with their welcome dance. He demanded the employees' choreography be precise to every detail. After criticizing them, he personally demonstrated. Under the lively music beat, Sira in a suit started to dance seriously. He shed his usual stern, rigid face to show everyone a passionate smile and a lively, lovely, and attractive dance. The employees all admired their chairman very much. However, in the eyes of the wealthy grandmother, this handsome chairman respected by everyone was not equal to her biological grandson. Her attitude towards Sira was both cold and arrogant, always reminding him to remember that he was just an adopted son. She was afraid that if her grandson knew the truth, he would resent her. That year, she was the one who forced her son to divorce his poor daughter-in-law. Unexpectedly, the son would rather leave home than leave his wife. Who would have thought that on the way leaving home, he unfortunately passed away due to a car accident. Because Sira was grateful for her upbringing, he never dared to have unrealistic thoughts. He always obediently listened to all her orders. The grandmother wanted her biological grandson, Jean, to take over the chairman position and told Sira to go pick up Jean, who just returned from abroad. Unexpectedly, Jean would rather cause trouble to get arrested by the police than return to be the chairman. It turned out history repeated itself again. The grandmother forced the girl Jean loved to leave. When she knew Sira failed to pick up his younger brother, she scolded him severely. After scolding Sira, she felt unwell. Sira immediately went to invite a private doctor to examine her. There was a woman who heard the news that the doctor was cut in line by someone else and the patient was the chairman of UG Group. In her head, the image of the grandmother using money to humiliate her appeared. It turned out she was the girl Jean loved. Thinking of the grandmother's humiliation, the girl got angry, fought for the doctor with Sira, and criticized them for using money to cut in line as immoral. She even stepped forward to pull Sira, but saw his look of extreme disgust. Knowing Sira had a weird germaphobia, the girl intentionally used her hand to touch the sole of her shoe to tease him. Not long after, fate made them meet again. The girl's name was Kang Han, a fashion designer. Many years ago, she saw her mom abandon her dad to marry a rich man, so she left her mom to study abroad. Abroad she knew Jean, the biological grandson of the wealthy grandmother. Jean liked Kang Han very much, but the grandmother thought Kang Han was just like her mother, only coveting her family's assets, wanting to find a rich man. So she gave money for her to leave her grandson. That day, Kang Han listened to her mother to go get jewelry. But unexpectedly, the other party was a weird man coming for a blind date. The man said Kang Han looked exactly like her mother. Both were gold diggers. Seeing her mother being humiliated, Kang Han splashed a cup of tea straight into the guy's face. The man saw Kang Han didn't apologize, so he splashed it back at her. After humiliating Kang Han, the guy intended to leave, so Kang Han kicked him in the butt. She scolded him not to think that having a few dirty coins meant he could do whatever he wanted, saying that even the grandson of the UG group she had once dumped. Sira heard the girl mention his family, so he said he was a person of the UG family, but he did not know her at all. The blind date guy mocked Kang Han as a liar, saying people basically didn't know her. The girl intentionally stepped forward to hug Sira, and intimately said she would help him review old sweet stories, completely ignoring Sira's resistance. Sira, the person suffering from germaphobia, was so scared he trembled, as if he had just contacted a deadly pathogen. Finally, Sira pushed the girl away. To make the blind date guy believe she was not a liar, the girl suddenly pulled Sira back and abruptly kissed him. Unexpectedly, the first kiss he had kept for over 20 years was stolen by a beautiful girl. He was stunned on the spot, and then an unexpected scene happened. The chairman fainted right there. It turned out he had a psychological shadow from childhood. When he was small, he was scared by a cockroach in a rice bowl. Since then he suffered from severe germaphobia. When he woke up, He buried his whole face in the water basin, continuously washing his mouth. But Sira still felt his heart beating fast, and the scene of the kiss just now continuously appeared in his head. Kang Han ran out, both regretful and scared, muttering that her prank just now went too far. Kang Han secretly felt lucky that she would never meet that chairman again. However, not long after, fate pushed them to meet again. It turned out to take care of her mom. Kang Han decided to work at her stepfather's fashion company. Her stepsister Ham always found ways to make things difficult for her. Ham required Kang Han to represent the company to join a design competition, and her opponent was Yuji. A colleague said Sira had recruited many excellent designers. Hearing Sira's name, Kang Han recalled forcibly kissing him, instinctively feeling guilty and covering her mouth with her hand. Kang Han had to work overtime day and night, luckily finishing the contest entry right before the competition. When she and her colleague arrived at the venue, Kang Han was blocked by the security guard at the door, requiring her to show her work badge. Kang Han discovered she left the badge in the car. She prepared to go back to get it when she bumped into a man. The box Kang Han held hit the opponent's face. Ironically, that man was Sira. Sira immediately called his assistant to get the disinfectant spray, and blocked Kang Han, who was intending to sneak away. Kang Han lowered the box in her hand to reveal her face. Sira did not expect to meet the rude girl from last time. He angrily criticized her for being impolite, bumping into others and running away, and demanded she apologize. Kang Han silently put the box down, reached up to stroke her hair, and then intended to reach her hand toward his face. This posture scared Sira into stepping back. Seeing Sira scared pale, Kang Han smiled smugly and then intentionally teased him again. Luckily, the assistant pulled Kang Han back from behind. Kang Han was very satisfied with Sira's miserable appearance. When leaving, she even covered her mouth to send Sira a blown kiss. Finally, the work presentation part arrived. But on the stage, two models wore two identical outfits. Below the stage immediately bustled, discussing that someone plagiarized. One side was Kang Han's work representing KP Company. The other was Ms. Prem's representing UG Company. Kang Han and Ms. Prem, two designers, stood on the stage with a tense atmosphere. Ms. Prem felt guilty and turned her face away. Turned out Prem secretly took photos of Kang Han's design draft on the plane. The judges announced canceling the contest qualification of both companies. Ms. Prem stole but played the victim, criticizing Kang Han for plagiarizing her work. Kang Han recalled meeting her on the plane, so she pressed Prem, asking if they had met somewhere before, right? Prem immediately denied it. Sira called her a liar who plagiarized their company's work, and even her stepsister criticized her for damaging KB Company's reputation. Kang Han wanted to find evidence to prove her innocence. Unexpectedly, the stepsister didn't even bother to investigate, and announced she was firing Kang Han. Many media reporters also surrounded her, questioning why she plagiarized. It seemed that her plagiarism had been firmly confirmed. When Kang Han was questioned to the point where she didn't know how to answer, Sira intended to step up and rescue her, but then saw his younger brother stepping out from the crowd. He very naturally grabbed Kang Han's hand, taking her out of the circle of reporters. But Kang Han told Jean to let go of her hand. Jean said that he had always been looking for her. He didn't understand why Kang Han kept avoiding him. Kang Han told Jean that she only saw him as a friend. His pursuit only made her feel pressured, but Jean stubbornly hugged Kang Han tightly and kissed her, receiving a slap from Kang Han in return. Kang Han mocked Jean, saying that besides his family background, he had nothing. A person like him could not get her love. She told Jean not to bother her anymore in the future. It would be best to pretend they never knew each other. Kang Han's determination made Jean very heartbroken. He agreed as Kang Han wished, saying he would pretend he never knew her, but Jean cried his eyes out. When Kang Han left, she saw the wealthy grandmother again. She criticized Kang Han again for coming to bother her grandson. Kang Han scolded the grandmother back for being senile. Sira then stepped forward to protect his grandmother. Kang Han spoke harsh words. If she found evidence proving that people from UG Company plagiarized her work, she would sue their company and demand double compensation. Before leaving, Kang Han intentionally provoked the grandmother. At this moment, Sira realized that his younger brother liked this girl. He returned home and thought about the scene where Kang Han kissed him. Thinking of his lips that had been kissed by Kang Han, Sira felt disgusted, hurriedly wiped his mouth with his hand, and finally used a wet wipe to wipe it again. Sira, who was interested in Kang Han, told himself that she was the person his brother liked. After investigating Kang Han's background, Sira discovered she was an extremely excellent designer. He decided to recruit Kang Han into the company to use her to get his brother to obediently return to work. He spent a lot of effort to find Kang Han drunk and took her home. Unexpectedly, the drunk Kang Han caused him quite a lot of trouble. But the thing that made Sira break down more was still to come. Kang Han threw a shoe right at his face. Sira was afraid she would vomit on his floor, so he carried her and threw her into the bathtub. Who would have thought Kang Han would vomit all over him? This drove him. A germaphobe, crazy. When he was about to go to sleep, he heard running water. He ran into the bathroom and found Kang Han soaking in a tub full of soap bubbles. Kang Han kept saying she was a mermaid, and even intended to change clothes right in front of him. Sira was quick-witted, hurriedly coaxing her that if a mermaid didn't soak in water, she would die. Only then did Kang Han agree to take off her clothes in the water. Sira saw the clothes she threw on the ground. He didn't expect the drunk Kang Han to strip everything off. This made him embarrassed, so he hurriedly ran out. He put on a blindfold, went in to fish Kang Han out of the bathtub, and changed her clothes while still blindfolded. Hearing the drunk Kang Han constantly calling for her dad, Sira gently comforted her. Waking up the next morning, Kang Han didn't remember last night, why she was in his room, and angrily kicked Sira off the bed. Sira explained for a while and showed her the belt wrapped around himself, proving he didn't do anything to her last night. Kang Han then believed Sira's words. She apologized and thanked him. What Kang Han didn't expect was that Sira invited her to work at UG Company, and introduced himself as Jin's older brother. Kang Han didn't care about this job, and even more so didn't want to be falsely accused by the grandmother of seducing her grandson. Sira advised Kang Han to accept this job so she could prove her ability, proving she didn't plagiarize others' work. Kang Han still refused to go to UG, but then she discovered her wallet, bank cards, and passport were all lost, leaving her penniless. She decided to work temporarily at UG Company to overcome the difficulty, also hoping to investigate the truth of the plagiarism case clearly. She met Sira to clarify that she would come to work. Sira arranged for her to work as a designer and his private assistant. Kang Han said her wallet and bank cards were lost, requesting a 1-month salary advance. Sira was forced to the limit, so he had to use his own pocket money to lend her to solve living issues. But there was a condition. He had to arrange accommodation for her to prevent her from taking the money and running away. Kang Han friendly reached out her hand, indicating a cooperation agreement was reached. Sira hesitated for a long time and didn't dare to shake her hand, afraid of being infected with deadly pathogens. Kang Han followed the arrangement to the accommodation, discovering the colleague's room was full of sticky notes, writing all kinds of rules. Kang Han knew Sira asked the colleague to always watch her and report her every move to him. Immediately, she came up with a good idea. She immediately carried her luggage to Sira's door, saying she wanted to move in with him. Kang Han said, "As long as I live with you, you can clearly see every detail of my life. No need for the colleague to waste time watching." After speaking, Kang Han wanted to barge into the house. The two struggled for a while. Sira successfully pushed Kang Han out of the room. Being blocked outside, Kang Han was extremely depressed. At this moment, the handsome neighbor returned. Seeing her all alone in front of the door, he stepped up to show concern. The handsome guy misunderstood that Kang Han and Sira were boyfriend and girlfriend arguing. Kang Han played along, lying that she made her boyfriend angry. The handsome guy rang the doorbell to call Sira out, advising him that leaving his girlfriend outside at night was unsafe. Sira explained that he and this girl had nothing going on. The neighbor hurriedly indicated he could testify, proving Sira really took her home last night. This assist left Sira speechless. Kang Han also successfully stepped into Sira's house. Sira questioned why she could casually admit to a boyfriend and wasn't afraid to live with the opposite sex. Kang Han said when abroad she also had male roommates and she wasn't afraid of a man like him at all. Kang Han demanded Sira agree to let her stay. Otherwise she wouldn't agree to work at UG Company. Sira thought of his plan. He wanted to use the beauty trap to pull his brother back to work, so he agreed to let Kang Han stay. But he didn't expect that he himself would fall deep into it. When he returned home and saw the messy room, he angrily demanded Kang Han clean it up, or else he would kick her out. Having no other way, Kang Han had to stay up all night cleaning. She cleaned according to Sira's almost harsh requirements. Every time Kang Han finished a spot, Sira came to check according to his standards. This time when he came to check, an accident happened. He slipped and fell. Her face pressed against the chairman's chest. The atmosphere immediately became intimate. Both were extremely shy and confused. In a moment, a strange emotion rose in their hearts. Kang Han was afraid of having to clean from scratch, so she gave up the idea of ordering takeout. Seeing Kang Han's aggrieved but unwilling face, Sira unconsciously smiled. Kang Han had to go to sleep on an empty stomach. In the middle of the night, she was unbearably hungry, so she sneaked into the kitchen intending to steal food from the fridge, but accidentally knocked over the food on the table. Next, she made the kitchen messy again. Sira came over and seeing this scene, he broke down again. Kang Han had to clean it up according to his rules. His nearly perfect demands drove Kang Han crazy. She scolded Sira for having psychological issues, which is why he had such severe germaphobia, saying his parents must have been driven crazy by him too. Seeing Sira's dark expression, Kang Han immediately felt that she had overstepped. She wanted to find him to apologize, but it wasn't convenient to go into his room, so she texted him an apology instead. Sira immediately forgave Kang Han, but he didn't expect that when he returned home from work, Kang Han would give him a big surprise. She prepared disinfectant and wet wipes, standing in the living room to welcome him home. She even bought a healthy water filter, saying she would take good care of the house, the filter, and him too. Right after Kang Han finished speaking, Sira's heart throbbed. He was scared and hurriedly ran back to his room. This time, Sira still didn't know that Kang Han had silently stepped into his heart. On the other hand, just as Sira expected, his brother Jean had also started working. Thinking that everything was going as planned, unexpectedly, a problem occurred at their company. It turned out that Ms. Prem, despite Kang Han's opposition, had produced the work that was accused of plagiarism in the previous competition. The sold underwear received complaints from consumers, causing a serious negative impact on the company. Sira questioned the underwear designer, Ms. Prem. He asked why when Kang Han doubted her work. She didn't investigate or verify it but proceeded to produce and sell it. Ms. Prem shifted the responsibility to Jean because it was Jin's order. Turned out that Jean, wanting to show his power and ignoring Kang Han's opposition, lost his temper and ordered mass production. Sira also scolded Kang Han, blaming her for not reporting the issue to him in time. Kang Han decided to make an effort to save the company's losses. After thinking for a while, she found an effective solution, which was to find a famous model to be the company's brand ambassador. But Jean didn't agree with this plan because this model was chasing him. Kang Han worked very hard to convince the model, but unexpectedly, Jean ruined it. Heartbroken, Kang Han couldn't control herself and poured coffee on Jin's head. This made the nearby employees extremely shocked. Sira knew about it and rushed to comfort Kang Han, asking if she was jealous of his brother. Kang Han firmly denied it, saying she and Jean had nothing, but it seemed he didn't believe her. Sira even told her to look straight into his eyes to confirm she wasn't lying. The two of them just looked at each other without blinking. Finally, Sira felt shy and lost the challenge. After that, Kang Han thought about convincing Sira to help. She bought all kinds of good things to bribe Sira. She even acted as his bodyguard in the elevator, acting as a human protective wall. Sira pulled her hand down, and Kang Han accidentally leaned against his chest. Immediately, Sira's heart throbbed again. This heartbeat betrayed Sira. But he still didn't understand his feelings for Kang Han. He thought something was wrong with his heart and ran to see a doctor. He asked the doctor why his heart throbbed every time he thought of Kang Han or got close to her. The doctor told him, "That is love." Sira didn't believe he would love a messy girl like Kang Han. He was scared and hurriedly ran away from the clinic. He even happily took photos of the love breakfast Kang Han made as a souvenir. He didn't know that Kang Han being attentive had a purpose. After bribing Sira, she expressed her intention to ask Sira to invite the model as the brand ambassador in the name of the chairman. At first, Sira refused but couldn't withstand Kang Han's begging. Finally, he had to go with her to the suburbs to invite the model. The model made a demand that Kang Han must withdraw from this project for her to agree to be the ambassador for UG Company. Sira saw the model humiliate and look down on Kang Han like that, so he angrily refused her request. He decided to find another more suitable famous person to replace her. This made Kang Han extremely angry. She took her anger out on the car. Sira intended to grab the key to drive himself, but the key accidentally fell into a drain. Both were penniless and starving. Kang Han had to borrow money from a worker to buy instant noodles for dinner. Kang Han taught Sira how to eat noodles. Meanwhile, Sira saw Kang Han choking and kindly told her to drink soup. Kang Han used Sira's spoon. She saw his strange expression and said she would go get a new spoon for him, but unexpectedly he said they could share the spoon. After Sira spoke, a smile unconsciously appeared on his lips. Then he even told Kang Han to eat with him. So Kang Han wasn't polite with him, but ironically, their faces accidentally leaned against each other. Immediately, the atmosphere was filled with intimacy. Kang Han hurriedly stood up in embarrassment, and after that, Sira personally fed Kang Han. Their relationship became more harmonious because of this bowl of noodles. Two lonely hearts also gradually opened up to each other. But after that, because of the noodles, Sira had a stomach ache the next day and had to stay home. Kang Han came to take care of him again, even carefully feeding him porridge. Sira felt shy and hurriedly took the bowl, saying he could eat by himself. But what they didn't expect was that the model's manager came to apologize and proactively asked to take the job. This made Kang Han very happy. Seeing Sira remain silent, she took it upon herself to decide to let the model come to sign the contract tomorrow. On the other hand, Sira's illness was still not cured. The doctor said he was allergic to some things and told Kang Han to take good care of him. Kang Han wore a protective shield, took careful care of him, and even laid a mattress on the floor to sleep so she could immediately support him when he needed it. Kang Han even helped him to the bathroom. Outside, Kang Han heard an unsettling sound. She rushed in and saw an extremely embarrassing scene. Kang Han screamed out loud in fear. The next day at the company meeting, Jean announced that Ms. Prem would be the assistant for the model. The model then intentionally made things difficult for Kang Han. For the sake of the company, Kang Han had to endure it. When she was assisting the model with the photo shoot, an accident happened at the scene. Scaffolding fell on Kang Han's leg. After that, both Kang Han and the model were taken to the hospital. Jean intended to take care of Kang Han, but the model insisted Jean stay with her. Sira heard the news and rushed to the hospital. Being a germaphobe, he saw countless pathogens in the hospital, but this time for Kang Han, Sira, who had never set foot in a hospital, rushed straight into the ward. He came to show concern and take care of Kang Han. Kang Han then sneezed in his face. Sira told her to use nose drops and even kindly took off his tie to tie Kang Han's hair. On this side, Ms. Prem of UG Group, wanting revenge on Kang Han, planned to use the model to get rid of her. First, she intentionally left design documents on the table for Kang Han to see her drafts, then secretly swapped Kang Han's underwear set. When the model performed the work on stage, she discovered 2 identical sets of underwear. The livestream video that just aired caused the model to get caught in a plagiarism scandal. The model criticized Kang Han for damaging her reputation and, without knowing right from wrong, intended to slap Kang Han. Sira was quick and blocked the slap for Kang Han, while also scolding the model for talking nonsense without evidence. Ms. Prem then framed Kang Han for plagiarizing her work, saying that last time she left the design documents on the table, Kang Han had secretly looked at her work. Kang Han said she only checked the work to prevent her from making the same mistake as last time. But Ms. Prem firmly insisted that Kang Han was the one who plagiarized. At this moment, Sira said the truth was not like that. He called a female employee to be a witness, saying that the mastermind behind framing others was actually Prem. It turned out that Sira had already had his assistant investigate Prem's work and compare it with Kang Han's drafts, discovering that the original creator of the competition entry was Kang Han. He also had the female employee follow Prem to find evidence of her plagiarism. The female employee had secretly filmed a video of her swapping Kang Han's work. Facing the hard evidence, Prem couldn't deny it and had to resign and leave the company. Kang Han thanked Sira for blocking the slap earlier and caringly asked if his face still hurt. Sira happily said, "It was just like an ant bite." Kang Han knew that Sira had known she didn't plagiarize for a while, so she said sadly that she worked here just to prove her innocence, and she questioned Sira why he didn't tell her sooner. Sira smoothly said that he didn't want her to leave. Jean once again expressed his concern for Kang Han and showed his intention to pursue her. Kang Han firmly told him that they should just be friends. Their wealthy grandmother finally discovered that the girl she had spent so much effort driving away was working at the company and was even Sira's special assistant. She thought Kang Han was shamelessly clinging to Jean again, so she called an emergency meeting to question why they hired Kang Han. Sira said Kang Han was an excellent talent, and since she joined the company, sales had increased by 20%. The grandmother didn't listen to her 2 grandsons' advice and insisted on firing Kang Han, saying that Kang Han and her grandson only had a superior-subordinate relationship. Seeing that he couldn't convince the stubborn grandmother, Jean came up with a plan. He said that after the grandmother fired Kang Han, he could secretly date her outside without being watched every day. It turned out Jean was intentionally using reverse psychology. The grandmother thought her grandson would beg her to keep Kang Han. Jean signaled his older brother to cooperate with the acting. Sira then sent a text to Kang Han telling her to keep acting. So, Kang Han intentionally provoked the grandmother by saying that as long as she had Jean, she would have the UG group and money could buy everything, and she said that firing her couldn't stop her. Then Sira came to advise the grandmother to keep Kang Han, saying that keeping Kang Han at the company would allow them to control Jean. These words from Sira touched Kang Han's pain. She was very heartbroken. It turned out Sira was still using her. The grandmother felt her grandson's words made sense, so she decided to let Kang Han stay. Sira then asked his brother what he planned to do and heard shocking news. His brother intended to pursue Kang Han again. This left him in a mess. He didn't expect that both he and his brother loved Kang Han. That day, Sira told Kang Han to join the company's evening party with him. The young man in an elegant suit, looking very handsome, was patiently waiting for his dance partner. The handsome chairman accidentally turned his head and saw his usually messy subordinate, now wearing a red off-the-shoulder dress, looking absolutely gorgeous. She was elegant and charming as she walked toward him step by step. The chairman was unconsciously deeply attracted to her. At this moment, Sira had completely lost his guard. Kang Han slowly walked up to him. Seeing Kang Han so beautiful and touching, Sira was stunned. Kang Han spoke first, breaking the silence, asking if dressing like this made her qualified to join the evening party with him. Sira praised her, saying she was more beautiful than expected today. Then he elegantly reached out his hand to invite her. Kang Han took his arm. The talented man and beautiful woman standing together were truly a perfect match. They were informal, were preparing to enter the party venue. The two looked at each other and smiled, then walked side by side. Under the colorful lights of the musical fountain, they walked hand in hand toward their destination. But what Kang Han didn't expect was that her appearance made the wealthy grandmother unhappy. The grandmother warned her not to be a social climber and seduce her grandson. Kang Han intentionally provoked the grandmother. Then she intentionally walked in front of the two brothers. Jean and Sira saw cake on Kang Han's mouth, and both offered her a handkerchief at the same time. The two men looked at each other meaningfully, waiting for Kang Han's choice. Kang Han saw the grandmother staring at them from afar, so she intentionally took both handkerchiefs. The grandmother, seeing this from a distance, was extremely angry. She thought Kang Han was seducing her grandsons for the family fortune. Knowing that Jean gave Kang Han shoes, the grandmother was even more sure that Kang Han was still clinging to Jean. To stop the love between Kang Han and Jean, the grandmother used the favor of raising him to force Sira, who always listened to her. She forced Sira to seduce Kang Han and make her love him, so Jean could clearly see Kang Han's greedy side. This would make Jean lose hope in her. And then she would tell Sira to dump Kang Han. Sira originally thought he was an orphan abandoned by his mother, and he was very grateful to his grandmother for raising him. He didn't want to deceive his brother, but he also wanted to repay his grandmother. While he didn't know what to do, his brother asked him for help in pursuing Kang Han. This made Sira extremely confused and miserable. Because Jean wanted to be close to her, he transferred Kang Han to be his assistant. Sira was jealous, so he followed them everywhere. He beat his brother to it and bought a ring for Kang Han. Even though Kang Han wanted to return the ring, Sira still asked her to keep it and personally put the ring on her. But as soon as Kang Han left, Sira had an internal monologue. It turned out this was actually the ring he wanted to give her. Not long after, Kang Han accidentally heard Jean asking his brother to help him chase her. Kang Han misunderstood that Sira didn't love her and was angry that he was helping his brother pursue her. Angry, Kang Han decided to stay at the handsome neighbor's house. When Sira came to call her home, Kang Han angrily refused. Finally, Sira helplessly returned home. Sira saw Kang Han was still wearing the ring he gave her and unconsciously smiled. He even caringly wanted to help wipe her mouth. It turned out that after thinking carefully, Sira had made a decision. He decided to follow his heart to pursue Kang Han, and at the same time, he could repay his grandmother's favor. He gathered his courage and asked Kang Han if she was secretly in love with him. Seeing Sira's intimate action, Kang Han was temporarily shy and confused, but right after that, Kang Han shyly said she didn't like him. Kang Han ran to a place with no people, trying to calm her racing heart. Sira was afraid Kang Han would find out the truth about the grandmother's plan and hate him, so he kept avoiding her. Kang Han saw Sira trying to avoid her and misunderstood that he hated her. After apologizing, she angrily prepared to go home. Sira hurriedly followed. After talking for a while, Sira made Kang Han promise him that if he did something wrong, she couldn't be mad at him. He also made Kang Han do a pinky swear to seal the promise. That night, while looking for shoes for Kang Han, Sira saw a cockroach. Recalling his childhood trauma, Sira was triggered and accidentally hurt his own hand. Kang Han heard the news and hurriedly ran to care for him. The doctor told Kang Han not to let Sira touch anything dirty. Kang Han knew Sira got hurt because he was helping her find her shoes, so she was very touched. She even cooked delicious porridge for him. While eating, Sira accidentally got his hand dirty. Kang Han hurriedly took him to wash up. Sira then convinced Kang Han to use the finger interlocking hand washing method. The two of them interlocked their 10 fingers. In that moment of intersection, a warm and romantic feeling surged in their hearts. They felt the love and care for each other. Right then, Jean suddenly visited his brother's house. Kang Han was inside and didn't have time to hide. Sira told her to pack her things and hide in the room. Kang Han hurriedly hid in Sira's room. She accidentally dropped her hairpin on the floor, and Jean discovered it. Sira grabbed the hairpin and clipped it to his own head, lying that he was using it. When the older brother went into the room to put away clothes, Jean discovered a lipstick mark on some toilet paper. He immediately suspected his brother was hiding a beauty in the house, so he went to the door and demanded to go in and see. This made Kang Han, who was hiding in the room, extremely worried. Kang Han wanted to put lipstick on Sira's lips. Unexpectedly, Sira firmly refused to cooperate. In an emergency, Kang Han used the transfer method. After finishing the job, Kang Han told Sira to take the lipstick tube out to trick his brother. Sira, still stunned from being kissed, stepped out of the room and lied that the lipstick was also for his own use. He hurriedly found an excuse to send his brother away. As soon as Jean left, he scolded Kang Han, asking how she could just kiss a man like that. Kang Han blamed Sira for not cooperating with the acting. The two of them argued back and forth, and Sira suddenly blocked Kang Han's mouth. Immediately their soft lips touched. At that moment it seemed like time had stopped. Sira saw that Kang Han didn't resist. He saw the surprised look in her eyes, so he hurriedly and shyly pulled away. At this time another incident happened. It turned out Jean learned from the cleaning lady that the woman living with his brother was named Kang Han. Jean angrily returned, rushed up and punched his brother, criticizing him for stealing the woman he liked. After being persuaded by Sira, the angry Jean finally stopped. They explained the reason why Kang Han was living there. Kang Han also said that she and Sira were not lovers, just boss and subordinate. Kang Han told the two brothers to resolve the conflict themselves. Even though Sira tried to apologize to his brother, saying he didn't want to compete with him, Jin's intuition told him that his brother also had feelings for Kang Han. Jin suggested they compete fairly to see who would win Kang Han's heart first. Seeing his brother look down on him, Sira got provoked and agreed to his brother's pact. After that, they both openly pursued Kang Han intensely. Because he wanted to pursue Kang Han, Jin packed his suitcase and moved into his brother's house, suggesting that the three of them live together from now on and go to work together. When Kang Han found out, her head spun, and their love triangle also became a topic of gossip among colleagues. Everyone said that both chairmen of the company liked the same woman. They competed to be attentive to Kang Han. Facing the crazy pursuit of the two brothers, Kang Han didn't want to play favorites, so she ignored them and turned to be friendly with the handsome neighbor instead. This made Sira and Jean very frustrated. They also reached a united front and decided to declare war on the neighbor. Feeling threatened, they also opened up and confided in each other. They decided that regardless of whether Kang Han chose the older or younger brother, they would both respect her choice. However, Kang Han wasn't moved by either of them. On the other hand, the grandmother also heard this news. She was very happy because Sira was finally carrying out the plan. That day was Kang Han's mother's birthday. Jean and Sira both bought fruit to come and congratulate her. They competed in the kitchen to please Kang Han's mother. Kang Han's mother was very satisfied with their performance. Kang Han recalled her mother asking her if she liked the older or younger brother. At that time, she didn't tell her mother the answer. She unconsciously pondered about this issue. At this moment, Sira came and interrupted Kang Han's train of thought. Sira knew Kang Han's pinwheel was no longer spinning, so he took the opportunity to confess his love to her. His deep confession made Kang Han gradually lose her guard. But just when they thought everything was going smoothly, trouble found them again. It turned out the grandmother knew that both grandsons had been taken home by Kang Han. She immediately canceled the cooperation project with Kang Han's stepfather's family company to warn and take revenge on her. This project happened to be managed by her stepsister. The heartbroken stepsister immediately slapped Kang Han, criticizing her for ruining her project because of two men. Jean took the stepsister away, explaining that it wasn't Kang Han's fault but the grandmother's decision. Seeing the stepsister crying miserably, because he wanted to help her and didn't want Kang Han to have a bad reputation, he secretly signed a cooperation contract with the stepsister's company behind the grandmother's back. Heartbroken, Kang Han went home, set up a tent, and drank alcohol to forget her sorrows. Sira came to comfort her. Kang Han was drowning in negative emotions, thinking that everything was her fault. She cried and said she only brought trouble to everyone. Sira comforted her not to be pessimistic and told Kang Han to think about the things between them. Sira said that before, his biggest fear was dirt, but now his biggest fear was that Kang Han would disappear from his life. Kang Han looked at Sira longingly. Sira couldn't control himself, slowly approached her and kissed her. Sira originally intended to just touch and stop, but unexpectedly Kang Han took the initiative and passionately kissed him back. This was the moment that witnessed their most romantic love, a moment worth remembering forever. Unexpectedly, after sobering up, Kang Han didn't remember anything. Sira hid his joyful smile and even attentively brought coffee to Kang Han. He made strange gestures, hinting at their kiss from last night. But Kang Han had drunken amnesia. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't figure it out. Sira angrily snatched the coffee cup from Kang Han and said crossly, "If you don't remember, then don't drink anymore." Next, Sira went to ask a colleague, how can a drunk person remember what they did when they were drunk? The colleague suggested using a situation reenactment method, so Sira set up a tent inside the house again. He hoped this identical setting could help Kang Han remember the night they were intimate together. Unexpectedly, his brother returned and interrupted his plan. Even more unfortunately, the grandmother also came to them and gave an ultimatum. If the two brothers still hung out with Kang Han, she would cut ties with them and fire them from the company. Waiting for the grandmother to leave, Kang Han stepped out from her hiding spot in the room. Seeing the two brothers were depressed, she invited them to go eat barbecue. Finally, she even asked the handsome neighbor to take a souvenir photo for them. After returning, Kang Han decided to move out. She advised the two brothers to think about their grandmother's care and choose to keep their distance from her. Sira asked the handsome neighbor to let Kang Han stay temporarily. Jean also decided to move back home to live with the grandmother. Sira looked at the empty house, and memories of Kang Han kept appearing in his head. Jean knew Kang Han was staying at the neighbor's house, so he advised his brother to be careful, saying that people's hearts will change. Turned out he said that for a reason. Not long before that, he discovered a video of Kang Han and his brother kissing. Jin's heart was broken. He understood that Kang Han and his brother loved each other. Heartbroken, He went alone to a bar to drink away his sorrows. The stepsister, Ham, who had a secret crush on Jean, brought the drunk Jean home. She was very heartbroken to see Jean suffering so much because of Kang Han. She advised him to forget about Kang Han. Under the influence of alcohol, Jean slept with the stepsister. From then on, his feelings for her also changed. Jean asked Kang Han if she had ever loved him. Kang Han affirmed that she always loved him like a friend. Since then, Jean decided to support Kang Han's relationship. He turned to pursue the stepsister who had always secretly loved him. The grandmother saw that she had successfully stopped Jean and Kang Han. She began her second tactic. She invited Prem, who was always at odds with Kang Han, to come back to work. She called a meeting and announced that the company representative for the competition would be Prem. The grandmother's reason was that she liked Kang Han's work but didn't like her as a person, so she let Prem take Kang Han's work to the competition. Kang Han strongly opposed her decision. The grandmother said this was her company, and she was the one who made the decisions. After she finished speaking, she smirked and then took the glass of water on the table and splashed it straight into Kang Han's face. Kang Han tried to endure her harassment. Finally, she stood up, gave her a helpless glare, then turned her head and left the office. Sira was also angry with his grandmother's actions. He chased after her, expressing his opposition to her decision, saying he would take it upon himself to submit Kang Han's name for the competition list. The grandmother unexpectedly slapped Sira in anger. The next day, Sira told Kang Han his decision that he had submitted her name despite the grandmother's opposition. At the same time, he frankly expressed his feelings for Kang Han. These flirtatious words made Kang Han extremely happy. Not long after, another incident occurred. Seeing that she couldn't drive Kang Han away, the wealthy grandmother threatened her mother, making her sick and hospitalized. Kang Han was extremely angry when she found out, and she was determined not to endure it anymore. She went to the office and locked the door to find the grandmother to argue. Kang Han took the glass of water on the table and splashed it straight onto her own hair. She wanted the grandmother to taste the feeling of being framed and misunderstood. Sure enough, everyone saw Kang Han soaking wet and thought the grandmother had hurt her. Although the grandmother explained she didn't do it, Sira chased after Kang Han to ask for the reason. After talking for a while, Sira learned that the grandmother had provoked Kang Han's mother, causing her to have a heart attack. He apologized on behalf of the grandmother and begged for her forgiveness. Kang Han said she would only accept an apology from the grandmother herself. Angry, she didn't even pick up Sira's calls. On the other hand, the grandmother also counterattacked. She ordered to transfer Kang Han away, or else she would fire her. The grandmother criticized Sira for not listening to her. She only wanted Sira to trick Kang Han into loving him, but now he truly loved her. Although Sira didn't want to transfer Kang Han, to keep the grandmother from firing her, he had to announce her removal from the assistant position. After that, he also acted cold toward her. Kang Han didn't know the reason and asked Sira why. Sira lied that he didn't want to be near her and told her to stay away from him. Seeing Sira being so cold to her, Kang Han burst into tears in pain. Seeing her sad and alone, Jean came to encourage Kang Han, saying his brother cared for her very much. Kang Han didn't believe Jin's words. Jean told Kang Han to go ask his brother to find the answer, and told her to remember what happened the night she was drunk. With his brother's encouragement, Sira found Kang Han to apologize and beg for her forgiveness, saying those words that day were against his heart. Kang Han also asked what she did that night she was drunk. Sira took off his jacket and spread it on the table. He pulled Kang Han under the table to reenact the scene. He slowly approached Kang Han and kissed her lips. Immediately, the memory of that night rushed back into Kang Han's mind. She suddenly remembered her passionate kiss with Sira that night. Kang Han suddenly woke up, so scared that she hit her head on the table. She shyly and hurriedly crawled out from under the table and ran away. Sira chased after her, telling Kang Han not to be disgusted by him. Kang Han said his hot and cold attitude made her very confused. She asked Sira directly if he liked her. Sira stuttered and didn't dare to admit it. Kang Han reached out to hold his face, forcing him to answer. Sira asked back about Kang Han's feelings. This moment, they had overcome many obstacles and finally confessed to each other. The happy couple kissed again. They also officially confirmed their romantic relationship. After that, Kang Han and Sira appeared in public together. They were always stuck together like glue. The doctor declared that love had cured Sira's germaphobia. However, the happy days didn't last long, as the grandmother intervened again. She announced the removal of Sira's vice-chairman position for Jean to replace him. Sira had no objection to this, but the grandmother announced that Sira would replace her as chairman. She praised him for doing a good job on his mission, telling him to date Kang Han for a little longer and then dump her. This scene was accidentally overheard by the assistant. Kang Han knew Sira was about to become chairman, so she asked the assistant for the reason. The assistant lied, saying he wasn't sure. Then Sira came and told the assistant to keep this matter a secret. But they didn't know that the assistant, in a panic, hadn't hung up the phone. On the other end, Kang Han had heard their entire conversation. Kang Han immediately knew Sira had deceived her. She went to confront Sira, asking why the grandmother let him be the chairman. Did he pursue her for the chairman position? Facing Sira's stuttering answer, Kang Han was very disappointed. Sira had lied to her. Under her intense questioning, Sira finally confessed the truth to Kang Han. He said that previously the grandmother had ordered him to pursue her, but Sira told Kang Han he had liked her before that. However, the fact that he deceived her was clear. She immediately felt she was being tricked, and she couldn't tell if Sira truly loved her. In pain, Kang Han submitted her resignation, deciding to go abroad. Sira and his brother hurriedly looked for Kang Han. Sira said he wouldn't sign the resignation and asked Kang Han for a chance to prove his feelings. But Kang Han made a very harsh demand, telling him he must choose between her and his grandmother. This made the handsome chairman extremely conflicted. On one side was the person who raised him and did him favors, on the other was the girl he loved deeply. Sira was drowning in pain and torment. He curled up on the sofa like a helpless child. Kang Han also hid under the table and cried secretly. Kang Han gave her resignation to the grandmother to sign. Sira found out the news and came to confront her, saying he would cancel Kang Han's resignation. The grandmother asked how he dared to oppose her. Sira blamed her for hurting his feelings in the name of love. Jean ran in to tell his brother to hurry to the airport because Kang Han was about to fly abroad. So Sira hurriedly chased after Kang Han. The grandmother used cutting ties to stop Sira. Sira said that since he was small, he always listened to her. This time he only wanted to follow his heart to love a girl. The grandmother once again coldly refused his request. Sira said in a choking voice, "I really want to call you grandmother. I wish I were your biological grandson. That would be so good." This moment, Sira had no clue that the wealthy grandmother was actually his biological grandmother. Sira, not knowing the truth, knelt and bowed to her, sincerely thanking her for the hard work of raising him for all these years and begging her to take good care of herself in the future. Sira stood up in pain, bowed to her once more, expressing his gratitude. He turned his head and walked straight out the door without looking back. The grandmother immediately felt like her heart was cut by a knife. She didn't expect history to repeat itself. Sira's father back then also left as determinately as that. In an instant, the grandmother saw the silhouettes of the father and son overlap. Finally, the grandmother fainted because she was in too much pain. Sira told Kang Han that now he was free and could finally love her completely. Before Kang Han could answer him, she heard the sound of him getting into a car accident on the other end of the line. So everyone rushed to the hospital. The grandmother rushed up and slapped Kang Han, blaming her for causing Sira's accident. Kang Han's mother protected her daughter, criticizing the grandmother for being the mastermind who caused everything. Luckily, Sira was fine and had woken up. He was very happy because he got his wish to be with the one he loved. Kang Han accidentally overheard Sira's true identity. She looked for an aunt to confirm. The aunt told her Sira's background. Many years ago, the grandmother's oldest son fell in love with a saleswoman. He left home for love, and then unfortunately passed away in a car accident. Sira's mother raised him alone until he was 3 years old. Then she got seriously ill and notified the grandmother to come and pick him up. Knowing the truth, Kang Han found the wealthy grandmother to talk, asking her to personally tell Sira the truth. The grandmother was worried Sira wouldn't be able to forgive her, so she refused. Seeing Sira and Kang Han about to go abroad, Jean, who knew his brother's background, was also very worried. Because he wanted his brother to stay, he told him the truth about his identity. Sira rushed to question his grandmother about why she had lied to him. She said she was afraid he would hate her and blame her for making him lose his parents. She begged Sira to understand her. At this moment, Sira could not forgive his grandmother for all those years of deception, until one day before he left the country. With everyone's arrangement, Sira and his grandmother met one last time. By this time, the grandmother had let go of her pride. She was sincerely sorry and apologized to Sira. Sira had always loved her, so his heart softened. Then the grandmother took out a photo of Sira and his mother, saying his mother loved him very much and never abandoned him. Back then, because of life's pressure, she had to send him to an orphanage. Seeing the photo, Sira's eyes filled with tears, and he and his grandmother finally broke the wall between them and hugged each other tightly. At the end of the story, Sira took over as chairman, and his brother became vice chairman. The two brothers ran the company together, with the girls they loved by their side. All the lovers finally ended up together. Sira and Kang Han were inseparable every day. In their perfect happiness, they also made plans to have children.